What is up, everybody? Jeremy Eisenfire here, and welcome back to the channel. Season 2 of From is in full swing now, and the mysteries and clues just keep coming at us. And with still tons of questions that still need to be answered, where exactly will Season 2 be leading off, and where could we potentially be heading from Season 3 on? And today, we are going to be talking about a few possibilities as to where Season 2 could potentially be ending, and why I think all signs are pointing to the Lighthouse. Now, if you've been watching our From Livestreams, I'm sure you've heard us talking about the Lighthouse for weeks now, and with all of the clues that we are continuing to get, it is only leading me to believe that the Lighthouse is definitely going to be the endgame in Season 2, or at least will be a very big part of it. Now, of course, at the end of Season 1, we see Boyd and Sarah go into the woods to try and find answers, but ultimately they end up stumbling upon this mysterious lighthouse in the middle of the forest, after their tent is dragged by some unknown entity for some unknown distance. And that leads me to believe that whatever was dragging Boyd and Sarah's tent, was it trying to throw them off track and just put them in a random section of the forest? Or was this entity trying to drag them closer to the lighthouse to help them find it? Definitely let me know what you think down below. A few things we notice right off the bat about the lighthouse is, of course, the light that is rotating at the top, and, of course, the mysterious foghorn that is also being sounded. And if we remember back to Season 1, I don't think this is the first time that we have seen this lighthouse, nor heard that foghorn. In Season 1, we see Tabitha has a very strange dream, which I'm starting to think is more of a premonition than a dream. It starts off with Tabitha walking down the streets of Fromville, and all of a sudden she hears this mysterious foghorn, very similar to the same foghorn we heard attached to the lighthouse at the end of Season 1. Next thing she knows, she is transported to a mysterious spiral staircase, which looks an awful lot like it could be the inside of the lighthouse. Not only from the spiral staircase, but if you look behind her, there are random windows every once in a while, and if you look closely at the windows behind her, you can see a rotating light that keeps passing, most likely the light at the top of the lighthouse. And if we remember back to the end of Season 1, when Boyd and Sarah saw the lighthouse, not only was there a rotating light, but you could also see in the distance silhouettes of windows every once in a while on the lighthouse. So I'm pretty sure this vision, or premonition, or dream, or whatever it was that Tabitha experienced was of her in the lighthouse. And I do think it could potentially be a premonition, not just a random dream. And it definitely seems like it is connected to the Matthews family. Not only does Tabitha start to see Ethan's toys as she is walking up the staircase, but when she gets closer to the top, she sees Jim, who is strung upside down, hanging from the lighthouse. And I thought it was pretty weird how when Jim screamed in the premonition, the audio that was coming out of Jim wasn't exactly a scream, but it sounded like the crash that the RV had when the Matthews family first entered the town of Fromville. So it definitely seems like the show is trying to tell us the importance of this lighthouse is going to be very significant, and Season 2 only seems to be adding to that notion. If you have been watching any of the behind-the-scenes features for From Season 2, you know that we definitely will be seeing the lighthouse again at some point in Season 2. They give away in the behind-the-scenes features that they have built a replica of the base of the lighthouse, a 20 by 30 foot exact replica, and it just so happens that this replica has a door attached to it. So I'm pretty sure we are going to see at least one of our characters entering this lighthouse. Which leads me back to the Matthews family. Now, at the end of Season 1, Jim was building this radio tower in hopes that he could put a radio signal out to the ether and potentially get in contact with someone. And he, in fact, does contact someone. But it is not the contact that I think Jim was hoping to make. They make a point to drive home the fact in Season 1 that Jim needs to get this radio tower up as high as he possibly can for it to work. So where potentially could another radio signal be coming from that Jim could intercept? Well, it seems to me like the lighthouse could be the perfect spot for such a radio tower. Which leads me to believe that Tabitha's dream wasn't a dream at all, that it in fact was a premonition of the future, and I think at some point Jim is going to seek out this lighthouse, and potentially things will not end well for him once he gets there. Recently, we saw Jim team up with Randall in the hopes of getting the radio up and running again, and the hopes of getting the antenna attached to Randall's drone, flying it up as high as they possibly can in hopes of having a better signal. And what if a better signal isn't the only thing that they come across while doing this experiment? What if Jim potentially finds a way to track or locate the lighthouse? What if the drone has an actual camera attached to it? Or what if they can attach a camera to the drone if it doesn't already have one on it? When I first saw the drone in the trailer for episode 7, before we heard what Jim and Randall's plan was, I was hoping that the plan was going to be to attach some type of camera, fly this drone up as high as they possibly can, and get a nice bird's eye view of what is really around them. And who knows, maybe even spot that potential lighthouse in the distance. And maybe that could lead to Jim and Randall, or some of our other characters, trekking out to find this lighthouse. And again, we saw at the end of Season 1, Jim was able to make contact with somebody through his makeshift radio. And I have a feeling whoever was on the other end of that radio is probably the next level above the monsters. We have heard Martin say that the monsters are only the tip of the spear, as it were, indicating that there is something else that is really in charge here, or at least above the monsters. And I really think whatever was on the other end of this radio is a representation of that. And I do think they are also located at the lighthouse. And of course, with the behind the scenes feature kind of spoiling the fact that we will be seeing the lighthouse again at some point, I have a feeling that is where Season 2 is potentially going to be ending. Someone is going to trek to this lighthouse and potentially even enter it, and who knows, maybe we will finally get some answers as to who is really in charge of Fromville. But whoever does travel to this lighthouse, whether it's Jim and a few other characters, I definitely think it is not going to end well for them. I don't see Season 2 ending on the best of notes. I see it ending on a pretty grim cliffhanger, but that's just a wild guess. But let me know your thoughts and theories down below in the comment section. Where exactly do you think Season 2 of From will end off? Will we get an uplifting ending to Season 2, or will it be a little bit more on the grim side? I would love to know what you think. But that is going to do it for us today. Definitely come back and hang out for our pregame and after shows live every Friday and Monday night, where we dive into the latest episodes of From. And don't forget to come and hang out for our live watch parties every Saturday night just after midnight, right after the new episodes of From load on the MGM Plus app. And as always, I want to thank everybody out there for watching, and a big thank you to everybody who has recently subscribed to the channel. We have just recently crossed 8,000 subscribers, something I never thought would happen here on this channel, and I cannot thank each and every one of you enough. And until next time, everyone, keep those tinfoil hats on, and I will see you on the next one.